WatchHaus. It's crazy. We're already 37 episodes in. We are joined this week by a super special guest, Sleepy from the Washington Justice. Sleepy, thank you so much for joining us on tonight's show. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, anytime. Always welcome here on WatchHaus. I'm joined as well by my co-host, Zach. Covers the Gladiators for our beat writing squad for the Game Haus. I'm Connor Knutson, Goopy Kanoopy, as I'm otherwise sometimes known, although no one pronounces that name right, so just call me Connor. So yeah, we're going to have a great show tonight. We're going to talk to Sleepy about a lot of different interesting and awesome things. But before we do that, we're going to do what we always do on the show. First thing, we're going to reset our watch. Just a quick segment where we get listeners caught up as to what we've been up to, give people a chance to plug what they're working on, all that good stuff. So, Zach, do you want to start us off with resetting your watch? What have you been up to?
Yeah, sure. So got back into beat writing for it because Stage 3 started. Had 2 games to cover. Gladiators versus Dallas and then Gladiators versus Titans. Yeah. 1-1, solid week.
Yeah.
You can catch me tomorrow on the Game Haus Twitch as well. That we do a D&D stream there weekly. I also just moved into a new place. Super excited.
Dude.
Got the summer ahead of me. Got some fun stuff. So
You've been busy, man.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez. Speaking of someone who's probably really busy right now, Sleepy. You just had a game this weekend. You've got a couple games next week. But what have you been up to just in general, man?
Other than like the obvious Overwatch League stuff, like preparing for matches and whatnot, pretty much just I stream every night on my Twitch, and that's about it, honestly.
Yeah, coming off the mid-season break, you've got to be like right back into it, I assume. So.
Oh yeah, we don't have a lot of time to do anything else. So.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, personally, I've been actually sick this past weekend. It's terrible. I thought I had like strep throat, but it was just sore throat. So if I sound terrible, that's why. Other than that, just getting back into writing. I've got an interview coming out with Stratus with the Washington Justice sometime this week, the next couple days, which I'm super excited about. If you don't know Stratus, I hope you'll read this interview. He's one of the most genuinely good and entertaining people I've ever interacted with in the Overwatch scene. Like he's hilarious. A lot of you probably saw his video on Twitter the other day. Like the guy just like does all kinds of crazy, hilarious stuff. So definitely go check that out. But the biggest thing we're doing here tonight is we are talking to Sleepy. We've got a lot of really good questions for him about the mid-season break, stages, Stage 3 kind of starting off, and then just some like other goofy, hilarious stuff we think you guys would be interested in to get to know Sleepy. So let's just jump right into it. Zach, do you want to go ahead and start us off with our first question here?
Yes, sir. So I think the first thing we should talk about would be the mid-season break that we had. How was the break for you? Like, especially, like, I know you guys got to go to DC. How was that?
So mid-season break, because I'm not a big fan of breaks, because I'm like just so addicted to video games. So I just want to play Overwatch all the time. So not being able to play kind of like sucks. But I like totally understand like the need for the break, because a lot of players will get burnt out and stuff like that. So that's just like for starters in the break. And then our trip to DC was actually like a lot more fun than I expected, because I'd never been to DC, so I've never like seen any of the monuments or anything like that. But it was actually quite interesting. So
that's cool. Yeah, I heard from Stratus and from Grant that you guys had like a great time bonding. Like it was a surprisingly like team bonding experience. Was there someone that you like gelled with in particular while you were there?
Me and Janice talked quite a lot when we were there.
Nice. Awesome. So kind of, you said you are someone who like plays a ton of games. Like you were kind of itching to get back. So for you, like, how was it coming back from the break? Like,
dude,
yeah,
I was just so ready to come back.
Really?
Like about like 4 or 5 days into our trip, I was like, man, I just wish I had a PC. I just want to. That's like all I was playing. I was like, man, I just really want to play Overwatch now.
That's incredible. Did you do anything like special when you got back, or did you literally just like start grinding it out right away?
No, I just started playing again, streaming and just playing ranked and stuff.
Cool.
The trip to DC, like how long was that? How long were you guys there that you didn't have access to your PC?
It was a total of 7 days, I think, and that includes like travel there and back and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So just a whole week without a computer, which doesn't sound that bad, but for me it was pretty rough.
Yeah, well, it's understandable as a professional who like this is how you work. Like you are working on a computer constantly, and so like it's just almost like sensory deprivation. I feel like it's got to be jarring for sure at the least, you know.
Yeah, it's like an entire lifestyle change. Usually I wake up and the first thing I do is just, go play ranked or go, watch
Yeah.
YouTube videos, something like that. And then now when I was there, when I wake up, oh, shower, get ready, go outside, go do
Yeah.
stuff all day.
Gosh, yeah. And I feel like usually on vacation it takes me like 3 or 4 days to even like generally unplug. And so for you guys, if you're gone for a week, you have 3 days to unplug and then like 3 days to basically get your mindset ready to go back. So that's got to be a super interesting back and forth too.
I guess we can jump next into stage 3 now that we're back into it. So this week y'all played Dallas. How do you think that match went for you guys?
I mean, we had really high hopes for the match, and clearly it didn't go as well as we'd planned. So it was really disappointing, I guess, to say. But I think we're gonna learn quite a bit from it, and hopefully come back stronger for our next 2 matches.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think there were glimpses of like solid moments in that match. Like you had to play some really good Ana. I think there are definitely like takeaways from that to look forward to. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, it happens. Kind of looking ahead, you guys play the Spark and the Gladiators next week. Both those teams have a lot of great, players, fan favorites on them, league favorites. Is there like a certain player you're excited to like connect with a sleep dart on, or just excited to play against in general?
I'd say mostly just from Gladiators. I'd love to. I'm excited to play against like Sheer 4 and stuff.
Dude, I would love. I don't know how like the inside the league is, like the interpersonal stuff between the players, but is there any like, are there any like player rivalries like that where you have like a player that or 2 players that are always wanting to play against each other and like always trying to go for each other's number more? Does that happen as much or?
Yeah, I'd say it does. Maybe not in
Really?
match, because in match, like, it can kind of, you could
just get
potentially
lost.
throw games by just like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna target carpet the whole time. Yeah, you can kind of throw like that, but like you'll definitely see it like on people's like personal streams or like in ranked like that. They'll just like hard troll their players that like
Man,
they're friendly with or something like that, or they'll just hard focus them and stuff.
I don't want to like dig too much into this, but do you have anyone that you do that with in particular? Like, you don't have to say if you don't want to, but
Not necessarily like
Okay.
like no one in specific. I kind of do it to a lot of people.
okay.
I'll just mess around with a bunch of people if I
Yeah.
find them in ranked. I'll just do like the most obscure flank and just kill them for no reason. I'll die for it, but I'll kill them, so it's worth it.
That's really funny.
Absolutely worth it. Getting into some fun stuff, I know one of the things that a lot of people like to hear is how people came up with their tags. So how'd you come up with Sleepy? Was it the Ana play and hitting all those sleep darts?
So that's a lot of people actually do think that is the reason, because I was an Ana 1 trick for a long time, but I've had my tag for longer than Overwatch has been out. So my tag actually comes from, I have a sleeping disorder, just insomnia. So I'm practically like always tired since I don't sleep a lot. So that's just where the tag kind of comes from.
Gotcha. Interesting. That's yeah. Have you gone by anything else before that, or have you always been Sleepy?
I've gone by, so before Sleepy it was Sleepyhead, which was
Okay.
just a longer form, and I just made it longer, or I made it shorter, sorry. And then I had tags like before that on other games, but I don't really like go back to them ever.
Yeah, that's fair. Cool. Another just kind of goofy question. So, I mean, you play on all the time, and so I don't know if this is going to be your answer or not, but if you could be any character in Overwatch for a day, just transform into that character, have their abilities for 24 hours. I guess we're assuming in the Overwatch universe, this might be a different answer if we're talking about like in our society, but if you could be any character for a day, what would you be generally?
And this is for the Overwatch world?
Yeah, let's assume in the Overwatch world. I guess you could answer both ways. I feel like it would be different, but yeah.
Maybe Mercy, just for the resurrection ability.
Super cool. I mean,
Like,
yeah,
and like everyone has to protect you, because if you die, it's over. So therefore, you're never gonna die.
that's true. That would also be a super clutch one in the real world.
Yeah, exactly.
Modern medicine, Mercy Maid. That's pretty revolutionary.
Yeah.
Cool.
Bouncing in kind of a similar vein, if you could go back to when, like, before you ever played Overwatch, would you continue to be the same role that you're playing now, or would you want to branch out into something different?
So I actually started off when I first started playing the game as a DPS main. And I don't think I would swap to DPS ever. I think what really made me fall in love with Overwatch was actually Ana coming out. So and that like made me like love playing support and stuff like that. So I don't think I don't regret my decision. I would rather play support than anything else.
Yeah. What about Ana made you fall in love with it in particular?
Just the like playmaking potential. Like all of her abilities are so impactful. Obviously, not as much anymore because of nerfs and meta shifts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But she was just the first character that I felt like so impactful on it. It was so much fun to make these plays. Like because when you get slept by an Ana, you're like, dang, I just got owned.
Oh
like,
yeah,
I actually just got owned.
It is one of the most like mechanically just sick plays is when you get an incredible like a nano blading Genji. Like that moment is incredible. And
yeah, like you just they feel so demolished inside when you get slept when you're blading.
Yeah, and you're right. Like Ana has definitely changed as the game's gone on because like Beyblade meta, Ana was a big part of that at different parts. Like Ana Lucio, like Lucio speeding in the Reaper when you nano him when he ults. Like it's definitely been a character that's kind of dipped and dived and stuff. But it's super interesting, and it's a tough time to be a DPS player. So I understand why you wouldn't want to be one right now.
Oh yeah, the only time I'd ever want to be a DPS player is if Hanzo is meta. Hanzo is so much fun.
Really?
Yeah, he's like the only like DPS that I just have so much fun playing.
Nice. Cool. So when approximately did you switch? Like, do you remember if there was like a moment in the timeline where you went from DPS to support? I'm curious about this transition.
It was actually just when Ana came out. That was when I
swapped. Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like a Pharah main / like just whatever DPS, flex DPS, all of season 1 in ranked, and then whenever Ana came out in season 2, I started playing her.
Gotcha.
I think it was more so specifically when Ana got buffed, because like I don't know if you remember the original Ana, like when she came out, she was pretty trash.
Mm-hmm.
It was whenever she got buffed was when I finally swapped over to maining Ana.
Gotcha.
I wish I could play Ana more. There was a competitive season, and I decided to try and play Ana and dipped all the way down. It was not a good time.
Speaking of that, this is a good thing. Do you have any tips for like Ana or flex support players in general? Like, what do you need to be a good? It's probably different for ladder versus like pugs and actually team games. But what are some tips for you for flex support and Ana players trying to make their way in the game?
So for Ana specifically, I'd say one thing that a lot of people do is they think she's just like a really good like burst healer, I guess. Which like yes, she's like a really good healer, but she also has like the most potential of any support, I think, to make like big plays and like carry games. So like not being just a heal bot and actually like going aggressive and making plays with your abilities is like super impactful and can win you a lot of games. Whereas if you're just gonna sit there and heal, you might as well just play Mercy or something.
Yeah, I heard from I think it was Bonnie say one time. I think it was him. He was talking about how like a super simple thing for Ana is just not to use sleep and grenade at the same time. Like always have something on cooldown. You don't
want to overlap your ults or your cooldowns like that. Yeah. I mean, obviously, like sometimes you have to, but like if you just throw them on like cooldown, you're gonna just get jumped by Winston and die. So.
Exactly. It just basically opens the floodgates to get dove and stuff like that. So that's like that one tidbit helped me a ton, honestly, like in my flex support play. So for what it's worth, cool.
So you actually are you're in the top 10 for healing per 10 minutes in the Overwatch League. What is that kind of like? How do you approach it? How do you feel like being in the top 10 in that category?
I don't really have like any, I guess, outstanding feeling towards it. It's like cool. I'm glad I can have like a statistically good standing, but it doesn't really mean like a ton to me, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. How do you kind of balance? I know you were talking about like always making sure you have either your sleep dart or your grenade, but how do you find that balance of healing and damage? Like when do you realize that you got to go forward and kind of be aggressive more often?
A lot of times it's when you have like just advantages, whether it's like a number advantage between the teams or health advantage, stuff like that. Like just knowing when your team has an advantage and when you can like kind of press that is like good times to go aggressive and get your damage up.
Gotcha. That's cool. Something else I was kind of thinking about lately. We're talking about like, this is the way you play flex support. I think there's two very distinct ways, or there's several different distinct ways in which flex supports across the league play. Like you have a Jonak who his whole team invests in him and he's very offensive, and then you have, different players who are more in the backseat while their tanks are being the aggressors. Are there any players in the league that you see as playing similarly to you that you maybe VOD review or study, and or maybe what are some players at that position that you look up to, or just kind of talk about that if you wouldn't mind?
So I've definitely had players I've looked up to and like learned things from. I think a lot of players should do that or have that. But I think one thing I wanted to start, or I guess started doing in season 2, is I really just kind of want to identify my own form of play.
Hmm.
So I don't necessarily want to compare myself to anyone else. I kind of want to have my own style of playing the role, or own style of, I guess, playing Zenyatta in specific, because that's the only thing we play right now.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
so yeah, I wouldn't say this. I mean, last season I definitely like tried to imitate a lot of Jonak's play, which
mm,
is like I think a lot of players did because he was just so
yeah,
phenomenal at the time.
yeah.
But this season I think I definitely just try to make my own style and go off that.
Cool. This is way oversimplifying it, but if you had to say you were a mix of two Zenyatta players or flex support players, which two would you say you're trying to like hit the balance or hit the chord of? I know that's way oversimplifying it, but if you had to.
Mm, that's hard because I don't really know like specifically what everyone's like known for, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um, but I guess I'd still say like Jonak is like a big inspiration for play. Like just how like smartly he like how smart he is at like playing the game. The decision making he has is like really inspiring. So I guess him's still one of them, and I really can't tell you a second. I don't know.
That's fair. No,
Just I would just say myself, my own style.
yeah.
I'm just trying to like mix our
You're
my style of play with
Sleepy
his.
Jonak. I mean, that's a pretty dang good combination, honestly. That's yeah. If I could do that, I would do that. You know,
And obviously it's working. He's in the top 10 for
I'm-
healing per 10 minutes.
dude, killing it. Um, yeah, I do want to kind of ask. I've been thinking about, like we're playing on patch 1.36. They announced that recently that stage 3 would be on that patch. That's the one where there wasn't a lot of changes to it, like Wrecking Ball's mines move on the platforms now. There wasn't just a whole lot going on there. Patch 1.37 is the one that is really intense with the McCree changes, the one that's on PTR right now. What do you think of that patch? Like, do you think that patch will change it? Because we're kind of in this Sombra Goats bunker kind of blend right now, or some teams are playing DPS with the map pool and stuff, especially. But what are your thoughts on the newest patches and how those are going to affect, maybe stage 4 or whenever they come out?
So the newest patch is like just McCree buff, right? Or is there other things? I don't quite remember.
I'm trying to remember as well. I thought there was there's like maybe a Risa can throw her shield without reloading.
Oh yeah, that. So it's just like a small like QOL buff.
Yeah, there's some other
I
smalls.
don't think that McCree change will be too impactful towards like Goats meta. I one thing I do hope though is I really don't hope the game gets the direction taken towards bunker.
Hmm.
I think if the fan base really thinks Goats is boring to watch, which
Yeah.
most players like I guess can somewhat agree, like Goats may be boring to watch. It's actually pretty fun to play, I'd say.
Yeah.
But I'll admit it's pretty boring to watch. But if people think Goats is boring to watch, bunker's multiplied by 20. You're just watching 6 people AFK and a Bastion shoot a shield. I don't know. I hope the game doesn't get taken in that direction, but I also don't have any control over that. But
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd. Yeah, I don't think that patch is really going to do much towards Goats. I think it's still going to be a strong team comp.
That's fair. Yeah, I heard from Corey. I think he was saying like he would just play Bastion so much that apparently he would just like throw his hands up and be like, "I'm done." Like it just wears on you so much to just sit there and play that character. Like
It's really boring. You just sit there and just turret form on a shield.
Yeah.
Bunker comp.
So how do you like? I'm running into this in plat ranked games. Running into bunker comps, it's terrible. It's really good in the neutral. So like I run up, on Paris. I run up to the little choke. My whole team gets killed by Bastion one by one. They're up on ultimates. So how do you prevent that from happening? How do you break bunkers? I mean, this is again way oversimplified question, but like, what are some tips you have for breaking bunker from your position's perspective?
So, most teams in Owl, when people play bunker, it's you generally just swap to like a shield break comp where you'll have like a Sombra Tracer or like something like that. Sombra Tracer will like touch the point or just like pressure backline or something.
Okay, yeah,
Pressure like 1 or 2 people to pull away, and then they'll have the Pharah Hanzo that will just spam the shield really hard, and then the Bastion can't sit there and
yeah,
just left click behind a shield because the shield's broken the whole time and the rest can't do anything. So that's one of like the more effective things, but that's also in like heavily team environment, not in ranked. In ranked, honestly, just go Sombra, build EMP,
yeah.
or go Mei and wall the Bastion off when your team walks in or something like. Or go Hanzo. Hopefully, someone swaps Pharah and go Hanzo, and you can just break the shield, and the other 4 teammates can just do something on whatever hero they've picked. So.
Yeah. honestly, though.
It's difficult in ranked. It really is. That's why it's become such a staple in ranked in the past like season or so, because it's just it's hard to get the coordination from ranked players to beat bunker comp because it's such an easy comp to play and so hard to beat without coordination.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Yeah, sorry, we're definitely off questions that you prepared for, so sorry if these are just ones we're throwing at you, by the way.
No worries.
You're doing
No
great.
worries.
I would be curious, this is, again, we're kind of jumping all over the place at this point, but, you mentioned coming back from the break. I'd be curious to know, you're coming from previously having played for the Shock. I'm sure you had focuses with them, your things you were working on. How has your mindset towards your play changed coming out of the break? Like, are there things that you are personally trying to do, like to develop differently now than you were before, or is it all on kind of the same trajectory towards something that you had set early on? Does that make sense?
So you mean like kind of like moving towards Washington, like what I want to work on and stuff?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
I'd say one thing that I didn't do as much on Shock that I am like doing here and wish to continue is being more of a leader, like in game and out of game, I guess. Taking more of a shot calling role and like just leading the team overall, whether that's like mindset, whether that's in game, anything, just that. Yeah, other than like that, just gameplay wise it's still goats, so it's same thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
When it comes to shot calling and stuff, what advice do you have for people who are trying to get into that shot calling role, especially in not as heavy team based environments, more kind of on ranked and stuff?
I'm not sure. It's hard because like I guess like the most like forehead advice I could give is like just make sure you're calling the right thing, because if you don't know what you're talking about, you're trying to be a shot caller, you're just gonna look really dumb. So at least have like a decent understanding of the game, and if you don't, then research, like look at pro players, listen to what they call and stuff like that, and just take notes on that. Because if you're just shot calling like the most dumb, obscure things, then you're gonna sound stupid.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. That's something that I've always just like tried to figure out is how to shot call. It's such a there's target calling, there's ultimate tracking, there's like all these different things that just get lumped into the kind of umbrella of shot calling, and it's very confusing. I play main tank, so I don't know if I should be doing it or my flex support should be doing it. I know across the league this varies a ton, but for the Justice right now, like who is there like a dedicated shot caller, or do you guys divvy up stuff between players?
So in GOATS meta, you can't really have like in past metas and like years behind. There's been metas where like your Lucio would be like the only one shot calling things because he has the speed boost. That's it. Everyone else just is a mute and plays the game. But in GOATS, I'd say like you can't really dedicate one shot caller. I think a lot of people have to be calling because there's a lot of things that go into like how unique GOATS meta is in team play. Like your Zarya bubble is so important. Your Reinhardt shield health is so important. Like your Sen's HP, the armor pack, like everything is so important. Every character is so important in GOATS. So I don't think any team does like one shot caller, and if they do, I'm interested on how it works. I think most teams have like their Reinhardt has to talk quite a bit. The Brig has to at least talk a little bit to communicate armor packs. The Zen has to call targets and like control tempo and whatnot, and Zarya with bubbles obviously, and like how her energy is. So I think a lot of people have to talk in GOATS and be very like, I guess, commanding.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just thought of a question that is, again, we're going like topic to topic, so if you're a viewer or listening to this and you don't think there's a flow, that's because there's not. We're jumping around to a lot of different topics here, so this is just a little bit of an all over the place conversation, but that's great. You had mentioned though that you are a hardcore video game fan, like you love it, you hated being away from it. So I'd be curious to know like I grew up playing the N64 and fell in love with Mario games, and then got into Pokemon, and that eventually led to Overwatch, and it's all kind of knitted together and has influenced the way I play games. Do you have like a timeline generally of some milestone games that you've hit along the way, and then maybe what do you play now to decompress or get away from the game?
So I played a lot of games on like older consoles, obviously, like most kids. I was playing with my older brother actually, and he like loves like the older consoles, like the Atari, the N64, the Super Nintendo, stuff like that. He loves all that kind of old console stuff, and I played a lot of that when I was a kid. And I got into Melee on the GameCube.
Yes.
played a lot of Melee, and then
Love that game.
ended up getting my first console was an Xbox, or not my first console, but my first like I guess big games that I started playing, like big titles, was Call of Duty on the Xbox.
Oh,
Like
nice.
most 12-year-old kids played Call of Duty and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Played a lot of Call of Duty and like Rainbow Six, Vegas, and stuff like that on the Xbox, and then moved from Xbox to PC, and then started playing Team Fortress 2 on the PC when I was like
Nice.
14 maybe.
Okay, yeah.
And then after a year or two, probably like 2 to 3 years of playing on TF2, I moved to League of Legends and Counter Strike around the same timeline.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Started playing both of those, which they're two very different games. But
Yeah, I was going to say, that's like, man.
yeah, I played a lot of FPS, but then I got into League, and it was difficult to get into at first, but I actually really enjoyed League. Played League and Counter Strike, got like pretty high rank in both of those, and then that's when Overwatch came out. And if you look at it from the outside POV, like Counter Strike and League put together is pretty much Overwatch.
Dude, yeah, I was literally about to say, like, you have a good repertoire of things coming into this.
Yeah, FPS MOBA game, and then I go to Overwatch, which is an FPS MOBA. Which also, I guess after TF2, I also played a lot of Minecraft, but like,
Nice.
and not like vanilla Minecraft, but like I played like kind of like Dante. Dante played a lot of like PvP Minecraft. I played a lot of like community servers on Minecraft for like 2 or 3 years. But yeah, then into Overwatch, and now games that I play to just kind of like relax while playing in Overwatch is like Terraria.
Nice.
I'm a big Terraria fan, and there's actually a recent patch that got announced at E3, which is super exciting.
Yeah, I saw that. It was like incredible looking.
Yeah, it's like it's like the first big patch in like 3 years or something. Or like
Oh,
4
wow.
years.
I did not know that.
Yeah, because they have like big patches like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and this is gonna be 1.4, and it has
wow.
1.3 was like 4 years ago or something, crazy amount of time ago.
What the heck? That's crazy. That's
yeah.
all. I mean, that's got to be huge. That's good. Like, yeah. That's
yeah,
massive.
new patch is super exciting. I'm so excited for that.
Sweet. So what from those games, like I know you talked about how Counter-Strike and League kind of form Overwatch. Are there like certain things that you got from those games? I mean, the mechanics are going to come from CSGO and TF2, like I get that, but what are some like more maybe intangible things that you got from your history of gaming that have informed the way you play Overwatch now?
So I guess from League you get a lot of like understanding of how MOBAs work and stuff like that, and how like important cooldowns can be, positioning can be, because like positioning and stuff is obviously very important in like TF2 and Counter Strike as well, but
Yeah.
like not I wouldn't say as much of like in League, where like in League if you make one small step you're dead.
Yeah.
Like if you're a support player and you like mispositioned by like such a little bit, you're just gonna like just delete it. So I guess League taught me a lot about how MOBAs work, because it was my first MOBA obviously. So like cooldown management and all that kind of stuff, and then yeah, like mechanics from TF2 kind of just transitioned over, aim from Counter Strike and aim from TF2 as well. Just yeah. So other than that, not too much went into it.
Cool.
When did you kind of realize, like through your journey of doing that you had kind of like a goal of going pro?
I'd say pretty early on, probably when I moved into like League and Counter Strike at the same time. That was when I kind of like really wanted to go pro, because I played TF2 like fairly casually. Like I played on some teams, but not, I was obviously like 14. I wasn't too high IQ to be playing on teams. So, well, once I moved into Counter Strike and stuff, I realized I was like, for some reason, I was just good at most games I played. Like I was diamond in League, and I was, I hit global and ranked in Counter Strike, which can mean whatever you want it to mean.
Yeah.
But
still.
obviously, I was able to like be pretty above average in both games.
Yeah.
And I realized like, wow, I really enjoy playing these games. I really would love to make this my like career. Like I was so envious of all like the League pros back in the day and stuff like that. So once I moved into Overwatch and I was able to actually like be hitting top 500, I was like, oh wow, I was top 500. That wasn't that hard. This probably doesn't mean a whole lot. There's no way this is that crazy. And then I'm like, oh wow, well I guess I am top like 500 of players in the entire region. So,
what the heck? That's huge.
yeah, and that was when I kind of decided I wanted to like really push for Overwatch.
Dude, nice. That's awesome. Cool. I don't have any more questions. Zach, do you have anything else before we get into the news from the weekend?
Nothing off the top of my brain.
Cool. Sleepy, thanks for doing a lot of those impromptu. You did really well. We did not, for those at home, we have a Google Doc with some questions, but we didn't put enough questions. We only put a few, and the rest were from the noggin. So Sleepy did great with some quick fire impromptu stuff there. So I do want to talk about some news from the weekend. We had, this week one of games. We're coming off of the midway point through the season. And we have, some interesting stuff coming out of week one. For those who didn't know, one of the most interesting things that I thought happened over the weekend was Seoul Dynasty fielded 2 completely unique rosters and were very successful with both. I think 4-0ing both the teams they played. I think it was Mayhem and Chengdu, maybe. In any case,
Guangzhou, who's the charge?
Charge, rip the charge. So I'd be curious from a player's perspective, Sleepy. What would I mean, we're not in Seoul's like team house or anything. We don't know what's going on, but what do you suspect is the reasoning? Is it just so they can be like impossible to scout and they can literally just play 2 rosters, or do those 2 rosters have like distinct styles that you're detecting from what you think? Or I'd be curious what a pro's insight into that is, honestly.
So obviously I don't like know exactly because I'm not on Seoul, but I do think it's extremely interesting that they actually commit to playing 2 rosters. I'm assuming maybe it's because like one roster plays really well against, X composition and other one plays really well against like just goats, So I don't know exact reasons why they do it, but it's also extremely interesting because generally my opinion, or I guess like most people's opinion on goats, is that like you don't really want to rotate players too much. You really want to just commit to a solid 6 because the synergy is what matters the most in goats. Like team coordination and synergy is so important in goats. So I think keeping a stable 6, I always said keeping a stable 6 is like just the most important thing. Like I don't care if like you're not the best brig player, but as long as you're playing 6 and you're coordinated
within the synergy,
like it's so important. So them mixing up their roster all the time is really interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm curious as to why they exactly do it, but like I said, my guess is maybe this roster plays really good against like Winston goats, and then this one plays really good against Sombra goats and normal goats. So
and doing the 2 distinct sets of 6 almost solves that problem. You almost don't have to rotate if you just have 2 totally different teams that you field, and they just do synergy. So maybe that's their answer to that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's extremely interesting though.
Yeah, Zach, what else did you pick up from the weekend that would be interesting to talk with Sleepy about?
Absolutely, those jerseys. As soon as I saw teams starting to tease them on Twitter, I was like, this is going to be exciting. And then they came out and showed all of them. They're insane. I have been this close to buying like 3 of them already. What was kind of like the Washington's idea? Did they like come to you guys and say, hey, like these are the jerseys you're wearing, or did you guys have any input or anything like that?
I don't know about the higher ups. Obviously, maybe the higher ups had more decision on what was put on it, but we were just kind of told like, hey, this is your jersey, go wear it, and I like it, so it's fine.
Cool.
The black on black looks so cool, especially with the red lettering. I didn't notice the red lettering on the back at first, but I think that makes it.
It's like a really good compliment for it.
It's really sick. As opposed to I'm going to take a shot here. As opposed to the Dallas Fuel, who just made a black jersey with all black numbers.
Some of them are really boring, but some of them get pretty boring, but some are really, really cool.
Yeah. Do you have like a favorite or 2 that you had? Besides Washington, of course.
I really like Toronto's.
Yeah.
Toronto's is really cool. It's just so aesthetically pleasing. I don't know. It looks nice.
Yeah.
Black on white is super cool.
And the 6, they just like embraced the 6 thing. Like in 6 different languages, they're like known as the 6. Like I thought it was super cool as well.
Yeah. Theirs is really cool. I like Hangzhou's as well, but who doesn't?
Yeah.
Going on.
Yeah, I'm torn between the 2 like neon ones because like I wanted my like Vice Mayhem for so long, like everyone did. And then like we get it from them, but then we get a similar colorway from the Spark, and I'm super torn because that jersey's badass as well. But like there's 2 of them now, so I have to pick, and I don't know which one to pick. It's brutal.
I also hate to admit it. But the New York one is really good.
Oh, dude,
oh my god,
so cool! I wish they would have done something like that for ours as well, though. Too.
Yeah.
They put the city like in the logo of the. Yeah, and like I feel like they could have done something super similar to ours, where they just put like a monument, like kind of thing, like in the lettering of Washington. Or like that. I don't know.
The different Washington monuments would look really cool.
Yeah. Like imagine theirs, but with like Washington like history, like that. It'd be so nice. New York's is awesome.
Yeah.
Washington 4th jersey incoming soon.
I was gonna say, and I was curious if you had any thoughts about this because like the NBA, I keep bringing this up, I keep shouting this into the void, but the NBA has like 6 alternate jerseys per team. You have like your city jersey, your icon jersey, your alternate, then like you have maybe a unique one for your city. I would love to see that for the Justice, like a monument jersey. Like Just give the teams free reign to make as many as they want. Like they'll sell, you know.
Oh, absolutely they will.
Oh yeah, they would.
God.
And I know some teams make some really sick jerseys.
Yes, just like give the creative freedom to the teams, man. But anyway, soapbox, you know. Yeah. So I'm trying to think what else happened this weekend that was interesting. Sombra, that was a thing. We saw a lot of teams play Sombra, like New York. We were talking about their jerseys. So Saviobi starts both games, struggles against Houston, pops off against London. We saw even San Francisco run from some Sombra goats. A lot of other teams doing it. So it seems like we're getting to a trend where like teams are going to do Sombra goats, traditional goats, maybe DPS comps, some bunker comps. So we have a fairly wide array of compositions, but it seems like teams are forming their identities in maybe one or two of those. Sleepy, could you just speak to that a little bit? Like, do you see that happening, or you don't have to reveal what the Justice are doing by any means, but like, what do you kind of see happening with the metas right now as far as Sombra goats and stuff goes?
I don't know. I hate Sombra so much.
As a flex support, you have to. Yeah, I mean,
I think you can give that to any role. I think everyone hates Sombra.
That's fair,
except for the Sombra players.
That's true.
Sombra is such an annoying character. But honestly, I don't know exactly why New York started going to Sombra goats, but my theory on it is they were probably scrimming against Shanghai or something, got extremely just mentally boomed by the fact that they were getting deleted by Sombra goats on repeat.
Oh man!
And they're like, yeah, you know what? Let's do it too. A day before the match.
If you can't beat them, join them. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can't beat the Sombra goats. Let's just play Sombra goats, guys.
Oh man, that's funny.
I hate that character.
Yeah. What about like? I know. I think I was talking to Stratus about this. How like the map pool is pretty wide. Like the maps are more open than the previous stage. So that maybe opens up more DPS heavy comps. Do you think that's the case, or what do you think about the maps? How they influence the metas in stage 3?
I don't necessarily think the maps have too much effect for the comps. Maybe you could argue like sometimes like bunker comps could be played like first Havana, something like that.
Yeah.
Like there's times where like bunker comps can get opportunities to be played, and like Paris first, obviously. But other than that, I don't think too much of it relies on maps. I think it's mostly just what teams want to play and how they react.
That's fair. Zach, anything else you can think of from the weekend that I'm missing? I'm trying to think of just interesting things in general to happen. Chat, if you have anything interesting as well, let me know.
I know there was both San Francisco and New York almost dropping games that no one really expected them to. Like they took map 5 for San Francisco versus Atlanta, and then map 5 New York against Houston. I know, like especially because that's like the San Francisco one was the first game of the day, and I was kind of late getting on, and I saw that and was very shocked to see that.
Disoriented.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those games were very interesting.
Yeah.
I was so like I watched the Houston one and I watched the Atlanta one.
Mm-hmm.
Those games were sick. I don't know exactly like why they were all so close.
Yeah.
I would say the New York one may be closer because they were obviously experimenting with an extremely new play style.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they were just getting used to that on stage. And for the Atlanta one, I think like Atlanta just plays so well against like the top teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird.
They're
They're,
the
just,
giant
like,
killers.
they're the king destroyers. Yeah, they're so good against the top teams.
I noticed that too. Go ahead.
I also think that like maybe SF wasn't like the most practiced because they had just gotten back from San Francisco, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they had like a few days off and they just were getting back into things as well.
Yeah.
But either way, I'm not going to discredit Atlanta. I think they just play super well against good teams.
I was going to ask kind of the same about Houston. Like, was that just Houston playing really well? Because I think they're going to look better as the season goes on. At least more than they did in stage 2. But
I actually think Houston got a lot better at this stage. They're looking a lot better, like even in scrims and stuff. Obviously, scrims are just scrim bucks and they don't matter as much. But I do think Houston looks a lot better this stage.
Okay, yeah.
They have a good opportunity to do really well.
Sweet. I mean, after they play San Francisco next week, so that'll be interesting to see as well. But after that, their strength of schedule gets a lot easier. So I agree. I think they could have a great showing.
Yeah.
Another on that same note, I'm looking at the schedule right now from this past week, and there were only 2 games that went to map 5 all weekend of 16 games, and I think I counted that 8 of them were sweeps. Why is it so polarizing? Like, why is it just so like you either dominate or get dominated right now?
I mean, you could relate it to the fact that like half of the league is just bad at goats and the other half is just insane at goats.
Yeah.
Um, or you can. It also comes to like one thing that I've kind of just taken to mind. It's like, what side of the bed did you wake up on? Because that's kind of what it comes down to with goats. Like, oh, are we gonna adapt properly to like the one small thing that they're doing differently than the other team
Yeah.
that we scrimmed did? Like one small thing that you don't notice that they're like getting away with is just so impactful sometimes.
Yeah. And that makes it so tough because like I would never like there are some teams on here like I would never expect to get swept or whatever, and it's just like yeah, it's a good point though. I'm obviously not a pro player, but there's so much like minutia in playing Ghosts that it makes a ton of sense. That's the case.
Yeah, or like, one person because I don't think there's ever really been a meta this impactful for like
Yeah.
all 6 players on the team. So if
Mhm.
one of your players isn't performing, it really is gonna matter. Like
Gosh, yeah,
even if it's like you're like, oh, Lucio doesn't do that much, dude. Lucio players carry their teams in this meta.
yeah,
Like every player on the team has such a big impact. So if one person just is a little sick or isn't feeling super well, unlucky.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's I mean
The
that's
opposite.
go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say the opposite's true too. Is like if everyone's there that day, like you can have some crazy stuff. Like I don't think a lot of people would have predicted that Paris would be 2-0 coming out of week one. They showed up. They beat Toronto and they beat Boston.
Yeah,
Like two solid teams that like if you look back at their previous stages, you wouldn't think that out of week one they would have came out on top. But they really were all there, all playing as a team.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, but I think that's a lot of it from the weekend. I think it'll, like you said, I mean, I think it'll be a stage where a lot of teams look different, even though they may not have made changes. I think Goats is kind of it's a steep learning curve, but when you kind of start to get up the mountain, like you can get towards the top. I think relatively quickly if you understand the really really small stuff. I think some teams just struggle at a baseline with it, like just understanding what Goats is, which I am no intellectual. I don't even know if I understand what Goats is. I think Volamel said one time, if you're playing 3 tank, 3 support in comp, you're not playing Goats, you're just playing 3 tank, 3 support. Like, you're playing something different. Like, Overwatch League level 3 is different. Like, it's so I think there's a little bit of truth to that, honestly. But yeah. In any case, we want to do something each week where we give you our WatchHaus words of wisdom. We're doing segments here, but we don't want to be dumb. So we think this is a good opportunity, though, for each of us to give some kind of parting, maybe closing thoughts. If we have anything profound to say, like a Confucius says kind of thing, we'll do that. But if not, just kind of a wise word moving forward, things to look out for, maybe on the horizon and in week 2 and 3 and beyond of stage 3. So Zach, if you want, I'll let you go ahead and start us off. Do you have any kind of word of wisdom or profound statement for us to move forward with tonight?
I'm going to say that because we have stage 3, week 5 is the Atlanta Reign homestead, or homestand. I think that is going to be one of the most exciting weeks. Maybe because it's week 5, right before stage playoffs, but maybe because of the energy that Atlanta is going to bring. Like in Atlanta, I think that's going to be just. I know Dallas really blew it out of the water. I could see Atlanta doing the same thing.
Yeah. And side tangent, before we get to you, Sleepy, with the wisdom bit, you guys are going to be there. What are you excited to go to Atlanta? Like, what? That's crazy,
Yeah, I'm so excited actually to go there.
Yeah.
Not even because of just Overwatch, but I also get to see my family, which I generally only get to see them once a year. But because of that, my backstory, my family's from Florida, so that's
okay.
It's like
cool.
like a 6-hour drive,
Yeah,
6 or 7 hour drive for them. So they'll be heading up for the Atlanta homestand, and I'm super excited to get to see them again and my brother.
Yeah, because I know your mom was there for the Mother's Day stuff, right?
No, she wasn't.
Or no, wait, I think she was on a.
Corey, Zach.
That's it. Okay, yeah, sorry. So is this your first time your parents are getting to see you play, or?
No, they came out last year for one of our matches.
Cool.
But this will be, the first time for like even just a homestand. Like, I've never even been in a homestand, so
yeah.
Also, in related to the fact that Overwatch, for the homestand thing, when I was on Shock, even if I was playing, we weren't actually going to be going to a homestand. Well, okay, we were, but it was the LA one, which is like, let's drive 30 minutes down the road, for a different arena. So joining Washington, I actually get to go to the Atlanta one, which I really wanted to go to in the first place. So that's super exciting.
Dude, that's awesome. I totally missed that even on my radar. So that'll be huge. And that one especially is, we're getting to the end of the season where, like season playoff implications are going to become a thing. And there will be a lot of teams where that's a really important weekend to, get a couple wins out of. So that's going to be wild. And that weekend you guys play the Charge and the Fusion. So anything exciting about playing those two teams in particular, or just business as usual?
Just business. I think both of them are going to be pretty winnable for us if we're playing well. So.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think those are two very winnable games for the Justice. You guys have looked like a ton better, I think, so absolutely winnable. Cool. My word of wisdom, I suppose, would be, let's see. I think just, okay, so I'm very excited about what localization is going to look like next season. So, and Sleep, we can maybe talk about this here in a second, what you think the DC move is going to be like and stuff. But I would say just keep an eye on that conversation as we move forward to close this season. I don't know if it's going to be what people think. I mean, I think we have because of the existence of traditional sports, it has a impression on us of what home away looks like. That's kind of the standard that Overwatch League is chasing. But I think it would be pretty ambitious and overzealous to go for that in one off season. I could see there being like a hybrid first year where there are home and away stints, but maybe a lot of it still does happen in the Blizzard Arena. But regardless, I do believe in the fact that teams are going to play in their home cities next year. Like, that's going to happen. So I'm very excited for that. Just keep an eye on that conversation and talk about it. I think this is stuff where the community discussing these things is important. Whether we think the higher-ups are listening or not, they totally are. So, conspiracy theories. Blizzard's watching. But on that note, before your word of wisdom, keep asking you tangent questions. What are you excited about playing in DC? We didn't ask you this earlier. Are you what is the thought going into being in DC next year?
I don't have too much really thoughts or opinions on it. I just more so kind of similar to homestands. I think it's gonna be really exciting to play in front of a home crowd, especially for your own team. Those are your fans that are all in the crowds, owning the stadium. So it's crazy to feel for as a player.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be crazy. Back when you were, 14 playing TF2, could you ever have imagined that you will one day pack an arena? Your team will. People will be wearing your jersey with your name on it, your number. Thousands of people cheering for you. That's insane, dude.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, so that's just I'm super happy for you that you get to experience that. It's just unbelievably incredible. So, all right. So, do you have a word of wisdom for viewers tonight? This can be, like we said, something philosophical. I'm sure people would love to hear Sleepy say something philosophical right now, but it can also just be like something to keep an eye out for, what you're going to be, what to look out for Sleepy in the future, whatever you want, man. I'll just let you say what you want.
I don't necessarily have anything, but I will say that our match may have looked rough against Dallas, but look out for us in the next coming games. I think we've improved quite a bit, and we're still working, I'd say, really, really hard on becoming a better team. So look out for us in the next few games, and hopefully we can make everyone proud.
Absolutely, dude. And we're going to be watching here at the Game Haus. We're becoming huge fans of the Justice. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, we had Grant, the new VP of Esports Business for the Justice, who's out in DC working for you guys right now. I've got an interview with Stratus coming out. Now we've had Sleepy on. So we're big fans of the Justice here at the Game Haus, what we're trying to say. Cool. Well, Zach, do you have anything else before we close it out?
I don't think I do. I mean, I'm real excited to watch that Gladiators versus Washington game. I'm going to be covering that one, but
it's your team.
I'm going to keep a close eye on both sides.
Conflicted now, dude.
I know.
You just talk to Sleepy, but you cover the Gladiators, so...
What am I supposed to do?
Yikes. Just give Sleepy some good shout-outs in your recap, just real unbiased, real unprofessional.
Exactly.
There you go.
Give me all the favoritism.
Yes.
Oh, I'll do my best.
Incredible. All right, well, again, Sleepy, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. It's been a blast talking to you. You're a great dude. We wish you all the best, genuinely, with the Justice or just in your career in the future. We really do genuinely wish you the best here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun answering all the questions.
For sure. All right. And again, thanks to Zach and Sleepy for being on. We've loved this conversation, loved this episode. But until next time, I'm Connor Knutson, and from our house to yours, thank you for stopping by this week on WatchHaus. We'll see you on Thursday for our preview and next Monday for our recap of Week 2. Have a good time.